G'day, this is Sam Purcell from Unsealed 4x4. It's been a pretty interesting 12 months in the new four-wheel drive game. We've had a lot of new releases come out, and probably one of the most interesting ones is the new Ford Everest wagon. It's been designed and developed in Australia, so they reckon that they've made this thing for Australian conditions. And it's also based upon the very popular Ford Ranger platform, the T6, which is selling really well these days in the ute market. But Ford have put up a pretty big job for the Everest. They've put it up against what is probably the most popular four-wheel drive wagon in Australia, the Toyota Prado. We're out here today to test these two four-wheel drives head to head. We want to compare them on-road, off-road, what sort of features they have and what you get for your money. Many thought Ford's new Everest would be competing with other ute-based wagons like the Colorado 7, Pajero Sport, MUX and new Toyota Fortuner. But Ford are quite convinced that the Everest instead competes with the top-selling Prado. And comparing specs on paper, we tend to agree. They're roughly the same size, although the Prado is slightly bigger. They're both turbo diesel, full-time four-wheel drive and 6-speed, but the Ranger has more power and torque. And they are both capable of seating 7 overall. They are similarly priced as well. The Everest and Prado start from around $60,000. The Everest tops out in titanium trim at $87,000, where a Kakadu Prado sets you back 92 grand. The Prado has Toyota's new 2.8 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder, running through a newly designed gearbox. Suspension is similar to older models in a design that goes back quite a few years. The Everest, on the other hand, is based on the much more recent Ranger platform, sporting a new suspension design and is powered by that 3.2 litre 5-cylinder diesel and a 6-speed auto. So we are looking at 130 kilowatts at 3,400 RPM versus 143 kilowatts at 3,000 RPM in the Everest. In terms of torque, the Prado has 450 newtons at 1,600 RPM versus the Everest's 470 newtons between the range of 1,750 and 2,500 RPM.
Alright, we're about to go for a drive in the new Toyota Prado. We have selected low range with the center diff lock. The traction control mode's a lot simpler in this vehicle compared to the Everest. You don't have little fancy dials with nice pictures telling you what you should be in when you're driving different terrains. So let's see how it goes in low with the center diff lock. Okay, so we're coming up to a bit of a nasty little off-canvas section, and this is going to really test out how much suspension travel we have, as well as what sort of traction we can get out of the Prado. Okay, so let's just try and crawl up without any momentum. That's spinning a bit, but wowee. Once that stopped spinning, it really sorted itself out there. Alright, we're going to put it up this scrabbly little grabber section. I'm going to try and put no throttle input at all.
That's low range.
That's low, and that's just crawled up a little bit of throttle now. That's very impressive.
And that's road tyre pressures as well, working out.
So let's poke it down through this little bit of river here and see how she goes.
Yeah, so the suspension in this is a fair bit different to the Everest, isn't it?
It feels more suited to off-road work. I think you're going to get a little bit more body roll as a result, but hey, it's a four-wheel drive, not a sports car. And how are we for sealing? No water's made its way in.
No. You felt it bogged down a little bit there, but the motor handled it okay. I mean, the transmission's quite good. 6-speed auto.
Yeah.
It does everything it needs to, really.
I think it's quite a clever car. It's cleverer than I am, and I think if you were getting into four-wheel driving, it'd be quite an asset because it would really
it's nice
give you a lot of
point
confidence.
and shoot, really. You
Exactly.
don't have to drive it like an older four-wheel drive without the traction controls and stuff like that.
Which we both own.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, on paper, the Everest and the Prado are really similar in terms of like engine, gearbox, full-time four-wheel drive, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
You know suspension a bit more than I do, Ev. Tell me, like, there's a Watts link in the back of this?
There's a Watts link instead of what I guess you'd say a traditional panhard rod.
Okay.
Whereas your Prado would have a set of lowers, a set of upper arms, and a panhard rod to control side-to-side movement.
Yep.
This uses a Watts linkage, which, thinking back, the Land Rover Discovery 2 uses a similar setup, but it's really something you'd see on Falcons and Commodores
So it's
in
not
the past.
drive so much.
Yeah, it's quite odd to see, and basically that's two smaller arms with a pivot point in the middle that locates the diff and the axle,
Okay.
and still allows it to droop. So
Okay. Beeper beeping off there. I'll just straighten the wheels up. So we're getting cross axle now. I'll just feed that throttle. So that's stopped. And
shaking violently.
That's traction control working there, quite aggressively.
That's a lot of wheel spin, though.
And
That was nowhere near as easy as the Prado.
yeah, so that did it. But you feel the crab?
Yeah,
then,
absolutely. That
as
was
it tried
sliding
to-
and the car was shaking.
Yeah, so it didn't put down the power anywhere near as nicely as the Prado, definitely. Feel that
Crossed
there.
up,
Ooh,
yeah,
there we
coming
go.
back up through the moguls.
Let me just go back.
So let's see
There's
if
a
you
little
can
test here. I'll just
crawl this.
So that's in button wraps, low. I'll just go again and just sort of show what happens there. So a little bit more momentum I took then, sorted that out.
Still had to think about it, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And if not, oh, there it goes again.
Still
There's traction control, kicking away, more throttle. Oh, it's shaking.
It's definitely clunkier than the Prado.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes. How do you feel steering wise? I did feel in the Prado it was sort of a bit heavier and
Yeah.
somewhat maybe doughy.
This
the
is
wrong word.
this uses electric steering rather
Right.
than your more traditional hydraulic setup, I guess.
Right, okay. And so that's obviously an emissions thing.
But yeah, it is very light. I mean, you can sort of use your finger like this and
Right.
just sort of manage around very
Even
easily.
in low range full
Yeah,
drive.
yeah, that nothing affects it really if you're
Wow.
sitting still or whatever. So we've had a few days now with the Everest and the Prado. Ev, what are your conclusions?
Look, I think they're both very good vehicles, but I do think there's a real line in the sand between the two of them. I really feel the Everest is the better road vehicle. I feel that engine's got a lot of urgency about it. It's got firmer handling, but I don't think it's got the same ability off-road as the Prado. The Prado is just sensational off-road. For something that's going to spend most of its life doing the shopping, school run and things like that, it's way more capable than you could imagine. So I feel if you're buying the road car, you're going to buy the Everest. If you want a four-wheel drive to actually go off-road, the Prado is going to be the better vehicle for you. What about yourself, Sam?
Yeah, it was quite similar for me really. I really wanted to pick the Everest overall. It's got the better engine and gearbox, I feel. The styling's updated and it's all nice and new, and it's been designed and engineered in Australia, but at the end of the day, I think the Prado's a better four-wheel drive, and you buy a four-wheel drive to be a four-wheel drive, so I can't not say the Prado. It's got to be that one.
So the conclusion?
Prado wins,
Prado wins.
definitely, yeah.
That's a big call,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to stick by that with you as well. The Prado is the better vehicle than the Ford Everest.